All right, all right. Thank you, everybody. Uh, Welcome to day 7. Day 7 is a perfect day. So we'll recap what we have done so far. And in day 7, we are going to finalize working in collaboration. And then I'm going to introduce us to what we call a team stand-up, working in agile environment. So we will start today with agile. What is agile? Agile framework is a way where we break down tasks into micro tasks so that it can be reviewed. And then for such, we have something we call a scrum. And for the scrum session, we have like somebody like a scrum master who leads the team, not necessarily a technical person, more or less a product person becomes the scrum master who will tell us about the current tasks we are doing, where we are, and then each of us will talk about what we are doing and what we have achieved so far. So if you are connected, welcome to day 7, and we'll begin day 7 by stand up, our scrum session. Like I said, you are going to briefly share no more than 2 lines what you are working on, what you have done, and if there is any issue you are facing, type that in the box. So let's do that as our stand-up. I want to hear from everybody. So just write what you have worked on or working on. There, not more than 2 sentences. If there is any issue, state the issue. Let's do that very quickly. So I will also lead an example by starting with mine. For me, I reviewed the codes, updated the assignment details, updated the assignment details. Starting with mine, for me, I reviewed. So take a look at mine. Use mine as example, and write what you work on. Most of you specifically worked on the students class, so tell me what you have done on the student class, what you have added here, and the status, as it be pushed to the repository or not. So let's quickly do that, so we move to the next stage. I'm still waiting for us. I'm still waiting for us. Type in the chat box what you worked on, and what you intend to do. If you are stuck or not, also put it. Not more than 2 sentences. Type what you have worked on. We are currently doing what we call a team stand-up. Team stand-up. Share an update of what you are working on, the status of what you have done, and then if there is any issue you are experiencing, you also state it there. Okay, we'll just move on for today. For today, we will start with what I call a code review. Let's look at code review. Code review is that when you are working within a team and you are given an assignment or task, after you have done it, you push to a branch, and from that branch, you create what we call a pull request. You create a pull request pointing to the base branch, which could either be master or dev or staging branch. Having said that, first let's go back to the repository. Let's go to the repository, Bootcamp repository. In Bootcamp repository, okay, good. So for Bootcamp repository, go to Bootcamp repository. Then if you look up, you will see pull request. Pull request. Pull request. Now look at the pull request and click on it. Click on the pull request tab. If there are PR that have not been reviewed or that is currently being reviewed, it will show there. Now what we are going to do now is that click a PR that is not yours. Click on a PR that is not yours. Click on a PR that is not yours. Click any PR that is not your own PR. Click PR that is not your PR. Once you have done that, click on Files Changed. Click on Files Change so that you see changes. You see the work that the person has done. In this case, I see that there is a student class by Phil. Then there is a method to add, public void add. So just look at it. Now, if you think, now click review changes. Click on the green button. There should be a green button by the left side. A green button by this left side. Top right corner. Look at the green button at the top right corner. Click on pull request. Then click on a PR that is not yours. Click a PR that is not yours. Then from there, click on File Changes. Click on File Changes. And from there, click on the Review Changes. It says green button. you see a green button. If you are there, if you can see the green button, review changes, click, type green, type green in the chat box. If you can see the green button by the left, type green in the chat box. 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 Okay, are we good? Okay, so from the green button, click review changes. Click review changes. Click review changes. Now, if you are okay with what your mate has done so far, then click approve. Approve message there. Click approve. Click the approve, select the approve option and type whatever thing you want in the approval. So that's what you should do. Once you do that, then you click approve. Once you do that, click approve. Click approve, select approve option. Then in the comment, put anything there, maybe something like, oh, looks good to me. Looks good to me. Then submit review. Then submit review. Have you done that? If you have done that, type reviewed. Reviewed. If you have done that, type reviewed. Okay, so now your project could have been reviewed by your person, but let me check. This is show us. This one has not been reviewed. This one has not been reviewed. Now, when you're also reviewing, go back to pull request, select the one that is not yours, Select the one that is not yours. Select the one that is not yours, and then click before you click add review. If you go at the top right corner and move down a little, you will see assignees. Click assign to yourself to be reviewed. There is something that I say assign to yourself. Under assignees, you will see reviewers. Have you seen that? If you see assignees under reviewers, then I probably need to refresh. I'm not seeing the changes. Let me see. Okay. Under the top right corner, let's see. That's right. Let me see. Let me see. So if you have seen the assign to yourself, click assign to yourself. If you have done that, type assigned. 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 Okay, great. I'm going to refresh this one to see whether I was truly captured. No, I'm still seeing one PR not assigned. Go to the reviewers column. Under the reviewers, you will see assignees. Then click assign yourself. Click on assign yourself. The idea is that if someone creates a PR and you go there to review the PR, you may not show that you are the one that reviewed, and so there may be a day that you have to review like 2 PRs, which will take your time, and that has to be counted as your work. But if you don't assign it to yourself, it will not be counted for you. So it's as good as you have not done anything. That is why it's good to assign a PR to yourself before you start reviewing. Finally, we are going to do one more thing. We are going to, if you have done the review, then go to, I think at this point I'll probably do the review. Go to file changes. I want us to make comments. Just look at the file you are currently working on. Look for print method. If print method is there, comment that okay, good. Just click on the line. Click on the line that start the method, and if it is not there, you can put it there that the print method is missing. So I'm going to just put the comment there and then click submit review. Then click on finish your review. Once you are done, click on finish your review. And anytime you make a comment, you select the comments instead of approve. You select comment and then submit review. That will force that person to go and make requested changes before anything can be done. Okay. On the screen, are you able to see on my screen? Are you able to see my screen? Looks like the screen is not okay. So yeah, so let me see. I think something is okay, so I will do this. Let's see whether you can see this. I've changed the screen. You can refresh your browser. You can refresh your browser. I'm going to the change back. To Google Chrome. Um, okay. Please refresh your browser to see the latest stuff that is on the screen so that we can all be on the same page. Okay. Refresh your browser to that we can all be on the same page. All right, so I ask us to take a line of the code, just click on File Changes, and then on the student class, look for the print method. If the print method is not there, put missing. If it is there, I will also make another comment here. I will say change CGPA record to CGPA. Change CGPA record to CGPA. So you can see from the line, you click the plus on the line where you want to put comments, and then you put your comment. Hello, sir. Ọjọ́ mẹ́ta o. Yes, hope no, nothing. Let's do it next week. Hello? Let's undo it next week. Sorry, first week in September, rather. Hello? Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm referencing. Can you hear me? 76306. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Yes, so I'm saying that let's do it first week in September. That's about a week or two from here. First week in September. We'll do it first week in September. All right. Okay, thank you so much. Can you imagine? This one looks somehow. So make those changes and let's continue. So if you have done that on any line of the code, write changes requested. changes requested. Write changes requested. Okay, with that, we can now go ahead and fix all those changes. Let's fix all those changes. I will take, let me see. Let's see. I'm removing the clean up this code. Write changes requested. Now go back to your own code and look at whatever comment that is there and fix it. Fix whatever comment that is there. Let's see, cheat. In terminal. Okay, so let's take a look at the assignment. The assignment states that we should have a method called add, which add student record to the collection, and then we also have let's say this is B1, get student, B2, print list, which is to print student data. So I'm going to take copy one of your codes and use that. File changes. Let's look at few. And Bootcamp. Here. And then students. So let's take a look at this. So let's have students just Java. So we have students. So here we have declared array list, we have list, we have map, we have hash map, and then the next thing we declare list. This list is a list of string. So take a look at what I'm doing. It's a list of string, and use that to do your own correction. This is a list of string. I'm already in my own Visual Studio, so if you are not seeing Visual Studio, you should refresh your browser. So you should see what I'm doing. So we have a student class, we have students class, and then we declare student string of type list. List also is of what it contains, a list of strings, so that's why we have to put the type there. And then we initialize it. We say students equals to new hash map. Students equals to new hash map. So after that, we go to method. I can see that somebody wrote generate student number here. However, that method generate student number is not put here. Is not put here. So for now, let's say student number. Let's change the hostel to student number. Number. We change the hostel to the number, so there is no hostel, and then CGPA, and then CGPA, CGPA, and then CGPA. So we now put in this map, student dot put the number, and then the record. That's what we have. So kindly check and make changes based on what I put there. Look at what I put there. So we'll replace the hostel as a student number, and the CGPA as the last entry. Then after that, there's another method that needs to be implemented. Get student. Take a student number and then return the data from that map. So students.get. So this is very correct. Student.get, and you pass this number to it. So the last one is that we'll look at we have to add a print method. So public void print, because it's not supposed to return anything, and it's supposed to return, we have to print a list. That's a student record. So list of string, say record. We are given this method to be implemented. Student.print, and here all you need to do is to simply iterate through the string to print the data. Simply iterate. So you can do for, say, string item. This is another way of iterating through a list, then record. I will explain what this means. There are two ways you can do it. You can use for with index, or you can iterate through the object. Do you get it? For example, let's say you can say for integer s equals to 0, x less than record dot size, that's the length of the array list, and then x plus plus then you now say item, and then you have item. Okay, we can just do like this, and you can say item string item equals to record dot get x. Record equals to get x. So it's the same thing as for the data type of the item in that list. For the data type, the variable item, and then the list you are going to iterate to. That is a short format for using index to iterate. So from here, since we have the item, then we simply do system dot out dot print line this, say let's do like this. Each record is item, and then but I want to print everything. That two ways to do it. If you know where the position of each item, you can use that. For example, item 0 is first name, item 1 is last name, item 2 department, item 3 level, item 4 CGPA. So you can say we can just print out the item this way. That's one way of doing it. But to make more meaning, we can say system. Let's see. We can just say system dot out dot print print line. Then we can say, okay, the first line is what? So if we put print, then we can do item, say plus space. I thought I also use tab, then double T. That will take us to each tab. So the assignment is just to print the content of this record. It's as simple as as that. So I prefer to just print everything on a row, so we can use that and make those changes. Use that and make those changes so that we can move ahead. I'll give us 4 minutes to do that. I'll give 4 minutes to do that. So other than for loop, we can also use iterator. So for assignments, for next assignment, let me put that here. Make sure you look at tax 1. So tax2.md, let's look at it. Assignment 2. So first we are going to, for this one, use list iterator, to instead of for loop, to print student record. And then 2, use iterator okay, use for loop to print all students data in student class. So this simply means that add a new method called display, we should take map, of all student records. So that is you add a new method which is for loop, and then add another method, add display iterator to use the iterator to display content of map. So these are the first 2 assignments for today. Before we finish, I'm going to add more to it. All right, so let's get back to take a brief review. Day 1 we look at generally what we have to do. Day 2 we look at functions, and we look at variables rather. We look at variables, different variables, how to create variables, naming conventions for each of the variable, the data type, integer, float, double, long. We take a look at this, and then we move to functions, and then we say functions are the code block or steps to execute a particular task. So they are called functions. and we have functions that just perform operation without returning a result. Such functions are called a void, non-returning, no value functions. And then the one that returns value, you have to put the data type of what is to be returned. Okay, that's great. Look at assignment number 3. Modify assignment number 3. Assignment number 3. Modify the quadratic method. Quadratic method in functions.java to return an array of doubles, which is the value of the x1 and x2. The return array should be values of x1, x2. So your array has the length of the array will be 2. So that is the third assignment. All right, so that's on function double quadratic array. Here we're returning only single results, but now for your assignment you need to return the result of x1 and x2. Return the result of x1 and x2. Then we treated we have some names and things like that. Let me see whether I will give us assignment on that. I think I should have another assignment on string because we have done strings. So we have assignment on strings here. Let me see. Okay, so given a string containing student record, create add a new method in student class to populate students records from a single string. Now, so you have a method called in your student class. In your students class, you have a method called populate. It's a void. Let's do that. This void, public void populate. It takes a string data. Now this data is of the format. Say this. Let's look at what we have in student class. In student class, we have first name, last name, department, level, CGPA, isn't it? So we are going to have it this way. first name, last name. So let's say MTN 1234. That's student number. First name, Festus Banki. Department engineering, and then CGPA 4.32. Then I will have option pipe. O2 Damani Dada, sociology, and then 2.32, and then I was the last one. No, let me just this. Okay, so MTN days 3, Kuski Romeo, science, and then let's say 3.58. So we have this. So your assignment is to take, we have done strings, you understand? So how do you implement this populate method? There is a string called data. This data, you first split it by pipe. That will give you each student's record. That should give you 3 arrays. Now for each array, you need to now split by comma to give you the student's details. And the second array for student detail, the first item is a student number, followed by first name, last name, department, and this. So those are the things I want you to do for your assignment. These are what I want you to do for your assignment. I think that's basically that. So we still have like 25 minutes more. So I will use that to touch down on today. Let's talk about object. Object-oriented programming. Let me see. Object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming has to do with in object-oriented programming, in object-oriented everything is an object. In object-oriented programming, everything is an object. In object-oriented programming, everything is an object, which means that whatever thing we see is an object. And what is object? The best way to define object is to use your English definition of noun. What is a noun? What is a noun? Type your answer in the chat box. What is a noun? 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 So let's try and attempt to answer that question. What is a noun? In case your internet is slow, I advise that once in a while you just refresh your browser to see where we are. What is a noun? That's the question. What is a noun? Let's quickly answer that. I've said that in object-oriented programming, everything is an object. An object can be likened to the definition of a noun. What is a noun? A noun is a name of place, thing, or animal. Thank you, everybody. So, anytime we are given a problem statement, as long as we can identify a name, then we can create an object. So, anything that can be referenced or acted upon, just like you have a name of a place or a thing or animal, and this place have properties. That is, they have properties, things that you can use to describe them. If you are talking about a place, you are talking about a location. The location could be a name, it could be a street that has address, so there is something that is pointing to it. A thing also is identified by something. Diamond has a name, and then it has property like maybe color, maybe colorless, and then a shape, maybe the octagonal, whatever, and things like that. So the same thing with animal. So anything that can be acted on or referenced in a problem statement, anything that can be acted on or referenced in a problem statement is an object. Anything that can be acted on or referenced in a problem statement is an object. So, having said that, let's take a look at these two problems. Problem number one. So let's go back to our original day. Let's go back to day one. In day one, we were asked to talk about the project we would like to do. So type your project. Type your project on the chat box to remind us. Type your project to remind us. So we will take a look at each project and analyze it. So like I said, an object, or in object-oriented programming, everything is an object, and that anything that can be acted on or referenced in a problem statement is an object. Is an object. As long as there's a pointer to it, then we can say that stuff is an object. Is an object in the problem statement. Uber doesn't make sense. What does Uber? What does an Uber handle? Okay, car or car hail system. A car hail system. Let's look at car hail system. Let's look at car hail system. Here, let's give a brief description of this system. You have passengers waiting to be driven by a driver over a course of distance, and then get charged for the service. Okay, so this is it. Okay, let's look at for the other person. What is your own project? Okay, so we have a cake, we have a ordering app, so of anything, maybe cake, whatever, pastry, etc. Now here, how do we describe this? We are talking about a system that allows customers to place order for a cake or pastry, right, and then get paid, make payment, and have it delivered. Okay, so that is it. So let's take it one by one. From one, in the car hailing system, can you identify the objects in the car hailing system? Can we identify the objects here? Let's quickly deal with it. What is the object? What is the object here? What is the common object here? What is the common object that we can find here? Don't forget, an object is anything that can be referenced or acted upon. So mere looking at these statements, what are the objects? Yeah, so we have driver for the car hailing system because a driver is mentioned, so we have driver. A customer is mentioned, so we have customer. And then what happened? The customer in this context is called passenger, so we replace it with better context passenger. So we have driver, we have passenger, or in some places they call them rider, right? Now, so, and to be driven over a course of distance. Driven over a course of distance. What is that called? What name can we put on that? What is the process of being driven over a course of distance? Ride. So ride, we take a ride or trip. So let's use trip in this context. So we have driver, we have rider, and then we have what? We have a trip. That makes sense. Now these are the physical things that we can see. What other things can we see that is not directly mentioned. Let's review the problem statement again. You have a driver who has a car, and then you have a rider waiting to be picked up, and then when the rider is picked up, they embark on a trip. After that, a payment is made. After payment is made, we can say that the whole transaction is completed. So what else that is in this statement? So we have booking. Great. We have booking, which is the aspect of the driver. Passenger trying to look for a driver. So it's like a subscribed chauffeur system. So booking, and in the booking system you have the trip, and then you have under the trip we can begin to now break it down and things like that. Have a transaction or the service. The transaction is actually is what eventually happen, transaction, because that's how involves the payments. That's good. So from here we can begin to, a driver has a car, isn't it? Because you may get a driver may change car tomorrow and things like that. So car is is not mentioned here. So you can have a car that has a plate number and things like that. But in this context, we have driver, we have rider, we have trip, we have booking, we have transaction. Yeah, we have driver. I think I've mentioned that. We have driver, we have car. Okay, good. Now all these things, because they can be referenced, so we can put a name to them. And for an object has both property and function. An object that has property with no option, with no function, are probably called just an object. Then we have functions that relates to exposing the property of that object, so it still makes it an object. But there are classes that don't have property, so we cannot treat them as an object. Okay, so having said that, we can now say that for a driver will have a name, isn't it? A driver will have a probably name, maybe plate number, plate number, maybe number of rides completed, etc. So the same thing with rider. A rider will also have a name and rides completed. For a trip, you have a distance, isn't it? You have distance, you have a pickup location, and then a destination. You have pickup, you have destination, pickup and destination. All right, so we are going to, let's go to and then so you have booking. Booking, like, is a system where the rider initiates a request to be picked up and enter card details, what is needed for a booking. Okay, for a rider you have let's take a name for the driver of the rider. A name is enough. Name of the rider and current location of the rider. For trip, let's limit it to pick up and destination. Then distance covered, or let's just say distance. So a trip has pick up and destination, then total distance. and then the total distance, then we can look at the time, so we can add time to it also, maybe time in minutes or in hour. Then a booking, for a booking we'll have a rider, we have is a transaction between two people. Now you have a rider, you have a driver, and then you have the trip. You understand? So a booking contains of what? Of a driver and rider and the trip, you know, and the pickup time. Now for transaction, a transaction will have a date of the transaction and the amount of the transaction, and then transaction detail, which is probably the trip, you know. And then you have a car. A car belongs to a driver, isn't it? So a car has a driver, and then the color of the car and the model of the car, maybe that is enough for us. So let's go to ordering system. So from here, what are the objects that we can see? What are the objects in this problem statement? What are the objects? It's getting interesting now. What are the objects? What are the objects here? In fact, the first in this context, the very first one here is the customer. We have customer. It's very a customer places order. So order is another one here. So this order is like the booking that you have in the car hailing service. In this context, it is an order. So we have customer, we have an order. Then we have the order for a cake, but may not necessarily be a cake or any other stuff. So let's say item. So the item will be general stuff, and then finally we'll make a payment, which is also attached to. So a customer make an order, and the order contains what? It contains a customer and the item that is being ordered for. An item has a name. It could be a cake and the size of the cake, and then there is a cost, you know, for that for that cake or that item. Then you have a payment, which is a transaction that is being made. So it means that you can have a pool of cars or driver that you want to book from. Then the same thing, you have a pool of items, you know, from a restaurant that you want to order for. And so when we talk about a pool, you should be thinking in terms of list of that items, list of of drivers. You know, so that is that's how we should treat them. Now, having done that, we have order, we have item, we have customer. The next thing that we look at is that every object, you know, has property. Object has properties, which is the name of the property, name of the property. So for example, now if you say human being, a human being has a name, or a man has a name, but a man can belong to different type of human beings. So we can have mammals, we can have vertebrates, you know, we have and besides that, they also have functions that are intrinsic to them, functions that they naturally perform. So those functions that they naturally perform becomes the method or the of the class. When a class or when an object is to expose its property to the outside world, we can use what we call getter and setter to set the make changes to the values of them. Let's take an example. Let's say we have customer. A customer has name, a customer has ID, a customer has address, maybe email, and then let's keep it as short as that. And then we begin to look at these properties. We can say, okay, a name is a string, and then an ID, let's say, is a string or an integer, if you like. We can say it's integer. And then we have address, let's say string, and then we have email called a string. So if you have to have this object, so what are you going to do? Is that you create a class. So we have say public class customer, and then most times they are given what we call a default constructor, public customer. And here we have so here you define all the say say private, because they are variables of a class. So you make those variables private, so private integer or private string ID, and then private string address, then private string email. Then for this method to be accessed outside, maybe you need the name of the customer and things like that. So we have public, we create a method that has get attached to the name. So public, and the data type public integer get ID. This is to get the ID of the customer. To get the ID of the customer, so we return this .id. Now if we want to fetch the ID of the customer, this is let's say we want to change the ID, then we can say that set ID. Setter is a way of updating the values of the object, say integer. ID, because the setter, all the setters should have void, and so you will say that instead of saying return, this time around it will now be, I hope you can see what I'm doing. So it will now be this.id. You assign it to the ID in the parameter. So this is how to create an object. This is how, so you create a class that matches the object's name, and from there you declare a public constructor, and then from there you put we need to access these values. So that's why we have this one is integer, which is where we are going to end today, so I don't bug you too much. So my assignment now, which is the last one here, I'm going to push this one to the master's branch, so you can go and read it from the master branch. So assignment number 5, create a folder matching your project. For example, if your own is other services, if your own is other services, just call it others. If your own is car hire services, just call it let's call it Uber. So create a folder that matches your project. That's one. And then create objects identified within your project's problem statement. So you will create a folder matching your project, then create object. When I say create object, that means you create .java class having the same name as your objects. In a way, we have all identified the objects. All you are just doing is to convert them to class. And then I've given an example of converting them to class here in the README, where I created a customer. Now here, this is just a minimal class. You are going to complete the, for example, if it is customer now, you have a private string name, address this. You are going to do getter and setter for all of them. Here is just one property that we created the getter and setter for, but you have to do it for all of them. So if you get what I've explained so far, type clear. If you don't get it, type unclear. If you get it, type clear. If you don't get it, type not clear. So you have assignment that you are going to work on. Great. All right, so I'm happy with that. So let's I run through the assignment again so you don't get confused. I'm going to update the changes and push it to the master branch. Now, when you go to the repository, when you get to the repository, select the master branch first, then go to assignment folder, then you see tax2.md. So under tax2.md, the first assignment is that we are going to modify the student class, to use iterator. So that one, go and read it up, how to use iterator for over a list. Use it to print student data. I have already put a method so you can check the students in my own. Then for your own students, put your name before the student. For example, I will say Festus student, Philo student, Saka student. So rename your own student by putting a prefix to it so that it doesn't clash with the one on the master. So that's what you are going to do. So in the assignment 2, use the for loop to print the student data in the student class. Now, By student data, I mean that you will create a new method called display, and this method, in fact, it doesn't need to, it's displaying a map, right? So we will pass the map to it. Later we will just remove the map, because the method is the method of the same class. So you iterate through the map, use a for loop. If you are using for loop, it will just be for, I think a map item. So you can either look through the keys, or you look through the values. So I want to give you that as an assignment. Go and read up how to iterate through a map. So then 3, in our function class. In the functions class, there is a method called quadratic method. In the quadratic method, we are returning a double, but instead of double, I want you to return an array of double, which means that it should be double with bracket, rectangular bracket. So you should return rectangular bracket double rather, and then the content of it should be x1 and x2. Assignment number 4, given a string. Given a string containing student records. In this context, you have a string, it contains student records. Here we want to dynamically load the student data from maybe a source. Maybe someone has already done data capture, and we want to populate that. So we want to automatically load the record. So given a string containing student records, add a new method in student class to populate student record from string. And I said that in the students class, add a new method called populate. It's a void, and the string that it takes is data, right? You can even say final string data. All your arguments should be final. You only have final in front of them for arguments, because they are not to be modified. So data is of the format. This is the data. It's a string that contains other string separated by, the student record is separated by a pipe, but the student's details is separated by what? By comma. And the first record there in the comma is the student number. And in your map, so what are you going to do? You first split this by pipe. That gives you an array of each student records. Then you split the student record by comma. That gives you the student detail, and you can take the item as 0 index as your what? As your student number. Then the rest, first name, last name, you can pick it like that and store it in your list, and then put the rest in your. So what I expect you to do is that your populate method should just split the string by pipe to get each student data, and then iterate through the array of string and split each of the string by comma, and then you now get the 0th index as student number, index 1 as first name. So once you do that, now call the previous method of add and pass the new values you have gotten to it. The last one is create a folder matching your order. This folder should not contain the students' data we are working on. This is a fresh folder, and that fresh folder, it should be the name of your project, and there all the identifier objects we talk about. Write a Java class that represent those objects with getter and setter. All right, so any question? Type your question. Please like the current live. If you have a question, type your question now so that we can wrap up. We have less than 2 minutes to go off. Yes, that's correct. Get student, which takes student number, then that student record. That student record should be students. That's what is that's what the map. The map for student record is called students. Students in lowercase. So not students record, it's students. Ensure that you make necessary changes on that. Are we good? Again, what I need to know. No, I said it's a map. It is a map. Students, which is the student record, is a map, and it has a key, which is a string, and the values are list. Okay, so let me show you the code. This is it. First, look at where students is defined. At the top of the class, look at the top of the class where students is defined. Students is defined as a map of string. Map of string, you will see students. Students is a map of string. Map where string is the key. The string is the key. And then the list of string is the record. the string is the record. List of string, and then the string is a key and the list is the record here. So you have the string. You have the string, and the key is a string, and then the data is the list when you initialize the map. So when you add to the map, you first create the record, which is the list of strings, and then you add the data into that record. You see, after that, we want to get each record, because the record is a string. Because the record is a string, list of string, but the key for the storage is string. So you can simply say students.get, because it's a map. To get anything from a map, you use .get method. Yes. Right. So that's it. Any other question? Any other question? So start working on the assignment. You don't have to wait till you finish everything before you push it. So as you are doing each of them, be pushing it. It will be, because I might be reviewing it maybe every 2 hours or 3 hours to see what has been done, and if I need to make any correction or changes, I can reach out to you. Are we good? 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 If you are good, say good. If you are good, say good. If you are good, say good. Yes, sir, it's not the same thing as good though. If you are good, say good. Anyway, I think we can close from here. Thank you so much for today. See you again in day 8. Please do the assignments. If you're able to crush the assignments, do it. You will gain more confidence. If you don't do it, you will lose confidence. So try and do it. Bye-bye.